Today on the news and why it matters, Donald Trump is escalating his call to investigate Joe Biden, and the Joker, the movie The Joker, gets caught in the crossfire of woke culture. Got a lot coming up. It starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by Chad Prather. Chad Prather. Political cowboy Chad Prather.
Good to be here.
Thank you for being here. We are joined by two people on their maiden voyage on the show. Former South Carolina Senator Jim DeMint. Senator Jim DeMint.
Wonderful to be with you.
Thank you for being here. We're honored. We are honored. And Rachel Bavard, you guys co-wrote a book that was just released last week. It's called Conservative: Knowing What to Keep.
You got it.
And it's available on anywhere, Amazon, anywhere you can get your books. Can you give us just a quick, brief synopsis of what the readers can expect?
Yeah, well, everybody's trying to define what is conservative. What are conservatives? The left likes to tell us we're racists and bigots and hateful people. And on the right, even, I think they're trying to figure out what conservatives stand for. So we really took the opportunity to update Russell Kirk's conservative mind and re-articulate it for this modern moment.
Oh, it's so needed at this point in time. Got a lot to get into today. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. So my son was sick last night, and I ended up laying in his bed with him for way too long, and I woke up and I was like, I need to take my Relief Factor right now because my back was killing me. I felt like I was 100 years old. If you are one of the millions of Americans who you just walk around all day in pain, you're just in constant pain and you just think, well, this is life. This is getting older, or this is what life is like after an accident, or whatever your case may be, it doesn't have to be that way. Relief Factor is 100% drug-free. I know a lot of you out there are like, oh, 100% drug-free, especially you men out there who don't like to do the natural stuff. Let me tell you, it's no joke. It works. It targets the inflammation in your body, which most of the time is the root cause of the pain. We have had so many listeners, so many viewers reach out to us and tell us, Relief Factor changed my life. It can change yours too. If you have not tried it, you got to go to relieffactor.com. Get that 3-week quick start pack. It is only $19.95. By that point in time, if you try it for 3 weeks, you will know if it will work for you. If it does, you're out of pain and it changes your life. If it doesn't, you're out $20. But 70%, the odds are in your favor. You got to go to relieffactor.com, or you can call 800-500-8384. So, Donald Trump today, never one to back down from a fight. He spoke to reporters outside the White House and had some interesting remarks on the investigation into Joe Biden when it comes to Ukraine and also China. Watch.
Well, I would think that if they were honest about it, they'd start a major investigation into the Bidens. It's a very simple answer. They should investigate the Bidens, because how does a company that's newly formed, and all these companies, if you look at, and by the way, likewise, China should start an investigation into the Bidens, because what happened in China is just about as bad as what happened with Ukraine. So I would say that President Zelensky, if it were me, I would recommend that they start an investigation into the Bidens, because nobody has any doubt that they weren't crooked. That was a crooked deal, 100%.
Chad?
Nobody has any doubt they were crooked, except, of course, the Bidens. Of course, Hunter Biden was, of course, getting all these billions and millions of dollars just so he could fund his father's research into curing cancer. We know the truth. You know, that was the real deal. I love how Trump just kind of comes out and says, hey, you know, everybody's this way. He speaks in such extremes with these things. But I think that you are seeing a turning point in history in a very big way. There's going to be, I think we're just one thread away from just pulling the right string, and you're going to see some major unraveling of historical proportions. And I do encourage everyone to watch Glenn Beck's special tonight, 9:30 Eastern. He's going to unpack some things. Like Glenn's over my shoulder, and I know he can hear me.
Behind us.
I know you're back there.
He's right
so
here.
I'm not kissing up to you, but I'm telling you, I've never been so excited about a Glenn Beck special than I am tonight on the Ukraine.
And we'll probably give you several reminders throughout the show, but when you watch it on BlazeTV, you can save $20 on your subscription with promo code GB20OFF. So, Senator, you are very familiar, more familiar than any of us, with kind of the ins and outs of the swamp, the so-called swamp. What are your thoughts on all of this going on right now?
I gotta love the way Trump is handling it. Most of the time, the swamp just backs people into a corner. Your press people tell you just don't say anything, hope it'll go away. But you know, if somebody hits him, he hits them back, and I don't think the swamp is used to that. But to come out and go after China to investigate, of course, good luck, because if the Bidens were doing deals over there, it was with the Communist Party, and they're not going to throw somebody under the bus. But it's a good point. Because it wasn't just Ukraine, it was China. So I like the fact that he pushes back and doesn't let people get him curled up under the desk in the fetal position like a lot of us have been and sometimes in Washington. But what Chad is saying is important. This is, I mean, we laugh at just what's going on, but it's deadly serious that the Congress is really talking about impeachment from this very benign transcript. And all the evidence looks like it was a setup, that there was somebody in the CIA was working with the Democrats in the House. And don't try to tell me that the staff member for Adam Schiff did not talk to the congressman. Right. That does not happen. So it's about to explode my head that all the evidence seems to be against the Democrats, but they keep talking about Trump. So I'm glad he's still punching back.
Yeah. Rachel, of course, what the senator is referring to is Adam Schiff was, I think unknowingly, he forgot that he went on Morning Joe on September 17th and said
he had never spoken to the whistleblower.
Yeah, we've never talked to the whistleblower before. We'd love to talk to him. Oh, but yes, please, my team would love to talk to him. Oh, whoops. Then it comes out yesterday that it turns out his office spoke to the whistleblower a week before the report was even filed. What do you make of that?
Well, and I think what's really telling here is that this whistleblower went to the Democrats. The House Democrat Intelligence Committee gave no such notice to the Republican-controlled Senate Intelligence Committee. So if this was someone who didn't have a partisan agenda, he failed in making that clear. I'm assuming it's a he, but it could be a she.
Right.
We don't know who the whistleblower is. But I think that to the overall point that Trump is making, the hypocrisy on this point is stunning. What we know about Hunter Biden is that everywhere his dad was making policy, Hunter Biden was making a profit. And we saw this from him working with credit card companies when his dad was chair of Senate banking, to China, to Ukraine. And say what you will about the Trump kids, but they have done nothing of any sort to set up a lobbying arm while their father's in power and directly make millions from that deal. And so for the Democrats to pretend this is a distraction and somehow not relevant, I think exposes the swamp for exactly what it is.
Yeah. It is interesting, too, because you would think that a man who knew that he was guilty of something like this would not go out in public after he was accused of asking, you know, the president of Ukraine to investigate a rival, a political opponent. You would think that a man who was guilty of that, truly guilty of that, would not then go out in public and double down in front of cameras.
Well, and the same with Vice President Biden, who's going to say that he never had any dealings with any of the Ukrainian business partners of Hunter Biden's or Devin Archer's or, you know, Chris Hines. And there's a golf picture of them playing in a foursome, you know.
Did you see Trump's tweet that was deleted?
Yeah, the Nickelback Trump, of course, this photograph, and of course, Nickelback pulled back on the thing.
Maybe the greatest tweet of all time.
Oh, possibly.
Maybe the GOAT.
Do you have to? And I'd love to hear the senator's perspective on this, because let's face it, we live in this 21st century world of social media, which like I've said, I want to punch and kiss Mark Zuckerberg in the mouth for creating this atrocity that has made so many careers and ruined so many lives at the same time. But when you see the president troll on that level,
yeah.
Do you feel like that's a positive thing, or is that just him counterpunching to the point of saying, this is who I am and it's not going to be any different?
Well, I don't really like that he has to do it, but if he wasn't speaking directly to Americans, they wouldn't know what he was thinking, or they wouldn't know the truth. When I was in the Senate, really, you felt like you had to funnel everything you thought and believed and did through the media, press releases or whatever. But as emails developed, before I left the Senate, my email list was bigger than the subscription of the state papers. So you could be on equal ground with them. But if he wasn't speaking for himself, there are not too many people who would speak for him right now. And it's hard to know what's going on. I mean, Rachel's worked in the House and the Senate as I have. She was at Heritage, and now she's leading a conservative organization with me. And you hardly ever see on the news what's really happening in Washington.
I wonder about that, though. Don't you, Sarah, when you look at it and you're thinking, like, maybe people just need to get a sense of humor with some of these things? But that's obsolete, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's obsolete.
It is. Well, because politics has just become the new religion.
Right.
Right? I mean, we're so tribalistic that you can't joke about Donald Trump putting a Nickelback video up on Twitter. That's not funny.
Yeah, you'll get Rand Paul. You'll get tackled while mowing your grass.
You'll break your ribs.
Break your ribs.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible how divided we've become.
I think that is the magic of Trump, though, to some extent. He just doesn't care, and he will double down on it and sort of expose the heads exploding on the left. And I think the right looks at that and says, this is unsustainable. They're going to implode.
Obviously, Donald Trump wasn't sitting at Photoshop or video, editor and putting the picture of the Bidens there in a Nickelback thing. So, can you imagine how good of a feeling it would be if you're a staffer and you come and you say, "Mr. President, look at this," and he's like,
"Yes,
run with it."
Yeah,
it's like pouring gas on a fire. I bet the press people say, "Don't show it to him; he'll send it out."
Absolutely. I mean, I do think that there is a lot of truth to what you're saying, Senator, because personally, myself, I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I didn't trust him. I didn't know what he was about. I was concerned. And excuse me, you can relate. I mean, I don't know who you voted for, but I know you can relate.
I voted for him. There was 2 boxes. One said Hillary Clinton, the other one said not Hillary Clinton, and I went with that one.
Yeah. But I feel like because of the way that the media has treated him, it's pushed, myself included, so many Americans to just say, you know what, I've had it. I'm happy that he's punching back against the media. I'm happy that he's doing what he's doing, because the way that you are treating this man is completely and totally unjustified and unfair.
I think it'll unite America in a lot of ways, but I've heard so many people say this, Sarah, that they would look around and say, I don't like what he said on Twitter. I'm glad he said it. If somebody's kind of speaking for him, and most of us don't feel like we can go that directly at someone's throat, but they've been going at his throat since he came to office. They've been talking about impeaching him before the inauguration. So it's just, I don't blame him for swinging back, and you cannot fight the swamp and be elegant.
That's a really good point.
Nice doesn't win in Washington, and I hate that about our country. So his personality is perfect for what he's dealing with, and it's a mud wrestling match up there right now, and he's better at it than I was.
Do your thoughts, Rachel?
No, I think Senator Mitt makes a really good point. And we hear, this all around the country. People hate how our politics have become shirts and skins and debased and all these things. But this is what it's like. And I think for a long time, people on the right have tried to rise above it, while the Democrats have not. And I think Trump is meeting them where they're at, for lack of a better term. And I think people feel that, on the right, feel cathartic about that.
Yeah, the right man for the job at the right time. Back in a minute.
Ben Carson told me at dinner last week, and he said it.
Before we get back into the conversation, we want to thank our sponsor, realestateagentsitrust.com. If you are looking to buy or sell your house, you got to go to realestateagentsitrust.com. They are sort of like your matchmaking service for those of you who maybe you're moving from one state to another, and you're like, I don't know what neighborhood is going to have, families that are going to be good for my kids to spend time with. I don't know, I just want to not live next to a drug dealer. That would be awesome also. You don't know. You don't know the ins and outs of this new place that you've never been to. That's where you can rely on realestateagentsitrust.com to help you. This is Glenn himself. He founded the company with his wife, Tanya. And so they have done a really great job of compiling this team of realtors that they've already vetted them for you. They've already done the vetting, and so you know that they are the experts in their area. They do it full time. They're not what we call dabblers in real estate. And trust me, there are a lot of them out there. They share your values. So if you are looking to buy, to sell, whatever the case may be, you got to go to realestateagentsitrust.com. They have them all over the country. They have one where you're located. You can go to the website, type in your zip code, and you will be matched with a real estate agent near you or where you are going. So before we move on to the Joker, just want to get your thoughts on, as we're talking about Trump, Biden, Ukraine, China, want to get your thoughts on the talk of impeachment. Now, I know, well, I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say everyone at this table thinks the impeachment inquiry is a total joke.
I think you would be right.
Okay. You know, we're in the know, right? We probably pay attention to politics and what's going on a lot more than the average American. Some interesting things, of course, not non-scientific polls. But there have been a couple people, Donna Brazile and Rosie O'Donnell, who obviously very left-leaning people. They'll post these little polls on Twitter saying, you know, do you think Donald Trump should be impeached? And the times that I've seen it happen, Donna Brazile included, this latest one is Rosie O'Donnell that we have here. The majority of people actually say no. And then in the case of Rosie, she ends up deleting the tweet because the results are not exactly entirely what she expected. So 58% voted on Rosie's poll and said no, 42% said yes. Again, obviously, it's not a scientific poll. You know, we're not taking it very seriously, but I do think there is something to be said for how the American public is perceiving the impeachment inquiry. Chad?
Yeah, well, you know, living in the world of comedy, I know Rosie. Rosie knows me. We've had our public. Rosie's a sweetheart. She just, the heart's there. It's just deep in. You know, you got to really go find it. And I feel sorry for Rosie in a big way because I don't know what happened to Rosie in her childhood or whatever, but she's never healed up from it. You're dealing with somebody who has truly been victimized at some point in their life and hasn't gotten their healing. And the bitterness that's there. And I mean, she's come at me. We've gone back and forth, and in love tried to have this conversation. But let me tell you, you start to see the unhinged nature of what is going on here. These people aren't dealing in reality. They don't understand. They still, 3 years after this election, still don't understand that the disenfranchised people of America who feel like Washington, D.C. had forgotten them, put this man into office because they were tired of the mistrust and the lack of ability to be in contact with somebody they felt had their best interests at heart. And they still haven't grasped that fact. They still feel disenfranchised from the system.
Yeah. Do you worry, Senator, that the average American is not going to understand the truth because they've got the mainstream media just blasting all of these inaccurate headlines at them?
I've learned Americans are a lot smarter than we give credit for, but the good news here is that the Democrats are doing this a year before the election. If it was a couple of weeks, sometimes it's hard for people to get information because it doesn't come through the mainstream media. But there'll be plenty of time here. But your point about Rosie is a good example of how the left responds to the truth. I mean, even if they set up their own system, if it doesn't come out the way they want, it's deleted. They don't want to know anything that doesn't fit their paradigm. That's a dangerous situation. We write about that a lot in the book. You see it on college campuses. They don't want to know any facts or statistics about climate change. It's just the truth. It's their religion. So I don't like what's happening in Washington right now, but as we said before, I think maybe President Trump is the right one to handle it for our time.
Yeah. Rachel, do you feel like, I feel like the American people, they are a fair and, you know, just body of people. And if it did come out that Trump really did do something and there was solid evidence to show that he did something horrible, they would say that it wasn't right. Do you think?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think Democrats have two major problems here. One, their narratives keep collapsing. Like they keep trying to pin something on them and it keeps, you know, collapsing in their face. And we keep getting back to this, well, orange man bad, so now we must impeach. And I think the American people are exhausted by that. I have a sense, and judging from some of the more moderate Democrats in their town halls over this recess break, they're not talking about impeachment because their constituents don't want to talk about it. They want to talk about things they care about. And that's the second risk for Democrats. They're not addressing health care. They're not addressing drug prices, gun control, all the things they say are important to them and important to their voters. They have no intention of doing because they're just obsessed with investigating Trump. And I really think it may backfire.
Yeah. Senator Nancy Pelosi held off on this impeachment a really, really long time. all of a sudden, she jumps the gun with this particular phone call between Donald Trump and the president of Ukraine. Why do you think that is?
I think the pressure just built up on her, and a lot of the money that's supporting the Democrat Party now has gotten further and further to the left, and she held out against that. But I think she probably regrets actually acting before they saw the transcripts, because as Rachel said, this is starting to fall apart, and then she probably feels a little bit betrayed by her chairman of the committee, who actually knew about it and probably had a lot to do with writing it and changing the check mark of the secondhand information and a lot of things that are going to come out. So she was probably wise, but she caved to pressure, and I think they're going to get burned.
Can I just add to that, to Senator's point, she didn't want to do this. She held out for as long as she could. She faced so much pressure from the left that when you saw her come out and make this announcement, it was like watching a hostage video. I mean, she didn't want to be there. She really didn't. And she refused to take questions. I mean, she knows. She's not dumb. The lady, she's a savvy lady, and she's done this for a long time. She watched Republicans blow themselves up over it with the Clinton impeachment. She knows what they're walking into, and I don't think it's going to end well.
Be brave, Nancy. Come on, stand your ground.
Yeah,
Chad, what do you think?
Well, I'm just saying, back in February when those kids came in and approached Dianne Feinstein about the Green New Deal, and she says, look, I know what'll pass and what won't pass. I mean, she tried to be as diplomatic as possible as she could with these kids. I literally felt sorry for Senator Feinstein in that scenario. This is one I sort of feel sorry for Nancy, too. Like, I feel sorry
She's got the kids.
I feel sorry for her. You're getting pressure from the squad, you know, and Nancy's like, you could tell, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. I can't be doing this right now. And, sometimes I feel sorry for Joe Biden when his teeth pop out during a debate. There are times where I look at him, I'm like, why are these people being subjected to this kind of torture? It's really mad. But this is the kind of thing.
A little bit.
It really is. And this is the kind of thing that, honestly, and we talk in extremes here by saying this could be the absolute undoing of the Democratic Party.
So do you think that Nancy Pelosi would be the person to blame the most for that?
Well, she's the Speaker of the House. I mean, she's the one who ultimately it stops with the leadership to use the same rhetoric and the same logic they're using to say, well, no matter what goes on, ultimately it falls on the lap of Donald Trump. Well, back to the Democrats, it's got to come back to her.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know how this is going to end up right now, but I suspect it's going to backfire. The problem is the Democrats have been crying wolf for so long. I don't think Americans are going to take it as seriously as they did the Russian investigation, and even before Russia, they were talking about impeachment when there was nothing but chewing gum in class or whatever he did in the campaign. So I just think their credibility has worn out, and this is a big reach for a party that has very little credibility and the Congress that has very little credibility. So they're not doing the Congress or our political system any good. And so I do worry for the country when our government officials have absolute no credibility anymore, and we believe our intelligence agencies are lying to us. The Justice Department is not just. I mean, this is not good for the leader of the free world.
Yeah, absolutely. Great points. Back in a minute.
It was like a hostage video, though. She was like...
In case you didn't hear earlier in the show, or I don't know, you're living under a rock and you haven't been listening or watching anything for the last week, Glenn has got a huge Ukraine special coming up. It is finally here. It's tonight, and I know the team has been working extremely hard to put this together for you guys so that it's easy to understand. I mean, don't worry. There's only like million chalkboards that you have to follow along with. Nothing major. Don't worry. In all seriousness, though, it will be the easiest thing for you to follow because, as we found out this week, there are a lot of moving parts to the corruption story of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. And who better to tell you that story than the one and only Glenn Beck. So again, you can find that. You can find it on BlazeTV. It's going to be streaming. So those of you who are subscribers, you can find it on BlazeTV. If you are not a subscriber, you can also go to Glenn Beck's Facebook page. It will be streaming there as well, along with YouTube. So BlazeTV's YouTube, you can find it there as well. It starts at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. And again, don't forget, if you want to join the Blaze, which you should, you're gonna want to join after this if you haven't already, you can use code GB20OFF for $20 off of your annual subscription. Again, don't miss it tonight, Ukraine special. Joe Biden and Hunter Biden exposed. Overtime starts next. Don't miss it. BlazeTV.com.
I'm putting a bootleg version on my...